So the opening for JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 6 Stone Ocean has just dropped, and per the usual for JoJo openings, it's packed with tons of details that you might miss if you blink. I'm gonna try my best, but since there's so much to go over, if I do miss anything, please let me know in the comments below. This opening is titled Stone Ocean, and is performed by Kishida Kyoudan and the Akeboshi Rockets. 3D openings have returned, and they're being done by Kamikaze Douga, which is fantastic to see them return, and even reference their earlier work with this opening. We spend the first half of this opening following String from Stone Free, and I really love that aspect of it. It feels like the camera is on a set track created by that string, bobbing and weaving through the events of the first third of the part. We start by following the detention vehicle on the road, with flashing colors on its way to Green Dolphin Street Prison. I didn't even notice this until I started editing the video, but you could see the to be continued arrow pointing on the road as the van drives by, and that's just so cool. Taking a look inside, we have Jolyne and Hermes sitting in there with orange silhouettes for the other prisoners. This is going to be fairly common throughout the entire OP. Characters we are not introduced to, or are not important, or are antagonists to each arc will have orange silhouettes around them, orange being the common jumpsuit color of prisoners in the United States. The inside walls of the vehicle are painted with strings in the shape of the Joestar birthmark for obvious reasons, and clouds, which represent Weather Report's influence that he will have later on in the part. It's a little hard to see, but there are actually 6 stars painted on the walls, one for each member of the Joestar family, and the one that lights up is the one right above Jolyne for obvious reasons. Lucky Land and Jotaro's hat pins are some of the first things you can see as the colors of the background change with every beat of the music. You can even see Bruno's zipper hidden underneath a seat. We speed out the windshield past Tom Cruise, above the highway into the title card. The butterfly takes off from the opening, leading us to a bunch of unknown prisoners with the call sign MA152403. This is Weather Report's identification, showing that even if the character himself isn't as prevalent as some of the other characters in the OP, his influence on the part definitely is. Now, this could just be a line of random prisoners, but I counted 28, though there may be more since it's through a transition. I don't think it's too much of a stretch to assume that this is a reference to the 36 sinners needed for Poochie's heaven plan, especially since they all have Weather's call sign, and we know there's a very deep connection between Poochie and Weather. We zip straight into Jolyne's cell with Gwes leaning back against the chair, and this shot is so cool because the 3D nature of this opening allows the camera to make the most out of the space that's given, which is definitely really small in this setting. And the bed, toilet, cell bars, and the walls all flash with different colors each beat on the music, while spinning around the room into the next scene, which is great to see. From the events of the Goo Goo Dolls arc, prison guards take the role of blue silhouettes with guns and handcuffs, donning their appearance. Flanking her on both sides of the hallway, they point their weapons through the bars as a very Smoline sprints away past the string, referencing Goo Goo Doll's ability to shrink things in size. On the hallway walls, graffiti lines it with references to Shonen Jump, Battle Tendency, and a few other things that I can't make out. I should mention that all the graffiti style in this opening is in reference to the background of Volume 7's cover. As we slide under the prison door, it reveals the brooch with a fragment of the stand arrow, giving certain characters their abilities in this part. This leads to a nod towards Kiss, and the lips appear to shout different references to other parts in speech bubbles, like stars, diamonds, and hearts. We sweep through the hallway to see the warden, Loco Barocco, and his vice warden, Charlotte, the alligator puppet. Funnily enough, the strip search staff has a brief cameo because David Pro knows everyone's all about the horny. Mucha Mueller, otherwise known as Mew Mew, the chief security guard and user of Jailhouse Rock, is shown so quickly, and that's really interesting considering she becomes a tertiary antagonist later in the part. The prisoner who serves the female ward cafeteria and also gives Jolyne some advice is looking super wholesome. Then we move past the other 4 inmates who are with Jolyne and Hermes during the Foo Fighters arc, all giving heart-shaped motions from their hands. Gwes, with her silhouette removed, is briefly seen, and so is Emporio's garbage can from his introduction. There is 2D animation used here, but the transition between it is really seamless. Those are quickly passed by though, only to find Foo Fighters, our lovable plankton waifu, chasing the camera and meeting up with Jolyne and Hermes at the end of the hallway to do the striking pose from Volume 4's cover. The background folds into a crack into the wall, which is so cool because this is how you get into the ghost rooms from burning down the house. The background zooms out to show that both Anasui and Weather are leaning against the piano, and Emporio is holding the baseball in the pose from the introduction of his stand, back in chapter 24. One thing that really stands out is the Cubs trademark C has been removed from his hat and shirt design because of obvious copyright reasons, despite it appearing in the official character design. We transition to the grand piano still in the ghost room, though it's being played like how Weather played a different upright piano at the beginning of his real introduction during the Savage Garden arc. It starts with a pen dropping on the keys, like how he did when he was manipulating the Weather to do so with just pens, but now we have a bunch of different references to previous parts, making this one of my favorite scenes in the entire opening. We have Luca's SPQR shovel that Giorno damage reflected, the street sign Dio attempted to decapitate Jotaro with, a pencil that almost stabbed Josuke during his fight against Hazamada, Erina's doll from the time Jonathan protected her from the bullies, and Joseph's Walkman from the end of part 2. We briefly see Josuke's pins against the wall before spinning down the drain like the brooch did onto the basketball court, where the girls are playing catch as money and basketballs rain from the sky in reference to the bets they placed during the Marilyn Manson arc. We quickly zoom into one of the prison windows to find Jotaro standing there with the word crazy against the wall, followed by an image of a diamond. As the camera moves towards the ceiling, Manhattan Transfer flies by in reference to Jean Gallier's stand from the first arc of the part. As the scene flips upside down, we get a cool reference to Kakyoin's cherry, luck from the luck pluck sword, there's heart heal for Josuke's ability Crazy Diamond, and the spider web that is part of Jolyne's outfit. Maybe even a nod to Crazy My Beat, the anthology song, all in graffiti against the wall. Jotaro's star lights up and spins around to focus on the brooch, which appears to be the source of the strings that we've been following this entire time. And we know it's the source of Jolyne's ability, as the father-daughter duo look out of the small bars towards where Jean Gallier would be taking potshots with his makeshift sniper. As the brooch swings, we see Jolyne's distraught expression in the reflection of the disc, which is shown to be Jotaro's stand disc, as the first batch of episodes released will cover the journey to retrieving that necessary half to restore her father out of his comatose state. The disc melts into a puddle in Jolyne's hands as we see her cope with the loss of her father. This is directly from the scene where she is crying on the shore right before the Speedwagon Foundation submarine drags Jotaro away. The butterfly from the beginning of the opening appears from behind her, giving her the strength to break the handcuffs with the power of Stone Free. She strikes the same pose as Jotaro did from Stand Proud, but in her own style. As Jotaro stood on the left and faces left when Star Platinum appears, Jolyne stands on the left as well, but faces right as Stone Free appears. Now, I believe the placement of Jolyne is very intentional because you read manga right to left. As Jotaro stands furthest left, he's facing the future of what chapters are to come, while Jolyne in the same position faces back because of the burden of the past, not only in relation to her father, but to the Joestar family lineage. The beat drops as a flight of butterflies transitions us into an awesome pose from Jolyne, Hermes, and Foo Fighters directly from the cover of issue 8 of Shonen Jump 2001. We spin around with Hermes landing a kiss sticker on a bullet as she jumps between the two of them, referencing not only Kiss's ability to duplicate things, but also the occasions when Hermes uses a gun, like in the climax of part 6, which is pretty typical of characters from Stone Ocean. Guns instead of stands, stands with guns, yada yada. All throughout the opening, you can see rainbows in the background, and while it makes for a lovely aesthetic with the colors changing on every beat, here it's very clearly referencing heavy weather as the rainbows hop from cloud to cloud, the hidden ability from Weather Report that he unlocks upon regaining his memory. Foo Fighters bursts out of the water with her little plankton cells before pulling out her finger pistol like she did during the Marilyn Manson fight and subsequent arcs. This is followed by Jolyne swinging in like SpiderMan to strike a pose from the issue 27 cover of Shonen Jump 2001. However, this time, unlike the original cover, it is right side up. Seamless transitions all around as the bullets and stand discs fall from the sky, both of which are means that the antagonist Pucci uses to deal with the cast. All three characters run along bridges of Jolyne's string like the one she created during the Foo Fighters fight. Bolts and screws join the downpour of falling objects, and for the 6 Lang Wrangler fans out there, I guess you're all eating pretty good tonight because he gets his own moment as a silhouette, recreating the fight with Jolyne and Weather against him. This is where the framing of the camera is really spectacular because it makes you feel like you're in zero gravity with the characters as you float towards the enemy. Another awesome detail is that the background has a painting of the moon, which has so much significance to the Heaven Plan and a reference to Pucci's advanced stand, See Moon. We now go back to the Foo Fighters fight where Jolyne is running along the water with her strings underneath her feet as individual plankton from the Plankton Waifu jump out of the water. They end up transitioning into the discs where the characters are led to a tractor tire full of stand discs that Pucci uses. These discs are the means by which Plankton can can form a stand. So that transition is really great because it references her origins, and that happens to be the location of Star Platinum. I spot Aerosmith up in the corner. In the background, you'll notice 1868 painted against the wall, which is actually the year Jonathan Joestar was born, and it's so much fun to see the team leave these Easter eggs for us to find in this opening. The strings pan over the ocean, and under the water we can see flashes of the stone mask, the red stone of Aja, the sunrise on Cairo, Egypt with the destruction of Dio, Stray Cat, Zahando, Crazy Diamond, and part of Killer Queen, and the Requiem arrow surrounded by Golden Experience's vines. As they flash by, the string weaves together in the form of a star that becomes Jolyne's birthmark, showing that she has inherited the souls of the previous members of the Joestar clan. We spin around to her for another reference to the second opening of Stardust Crusaders, End of the World, this time with Jolyne facing away from Jotaro, just as Jotaro was facing away from Dio. They even lead in and out in a similar way with the close-ups on their feet. But where Jotaro faces to confront Dio, Jolyne chooses to walk her own path away from Jotaro, trying to make her own destiny, only to be stopped by the prison bars that keep her caged in. Along the bottom of the bars are a reference to the flowers and plants that produce the green baby. Jolyne grabs one of the bars and solemnly leans her head against it, only to look up once the butterfly that's been following us through this whole opening passes by her and flies up and out of the prison, as if to symbolize her ambitions throughout the part. And that was my analysis of the Stone Ocean opening. I hope you all enjoyed it and are looking forward to Stone Ocean dropping later this week on Netflix. I don't know exactly why they released the opening before the anime, but Netflix has done that in the past with some of their shows, so it is what it is. I do think it is quite a banger, and have listened to it about 50 times already. I love the performance from Kishida Kyoudan and the Akeboshi Rockets. They knocked it out of the park with this one. I love that Kamikaze Douga is back doing 3D openings, and I can really tell how much attention to detail was put into this one. Let me know if I missed anything or other details that you guys picked up on in the comments below. Tell me what you think of this opening. How does it compare to the other openings? Have a beautiful doing, and I'll see you all next time.